Hi, I'm Paul Kneen, and welcome to my solo show Paintings at Peterborough Museum and Art Gallery. As an artist, you want to be able to find your own voice. You want to be able to find your kind of own style, so that when someone sort of sees it in an art gallery or wherever it is, it's like, oh yeah, that's a Paul Kneen, you know, I recognize that, you know, the imagery or whatever. And I felt with my previous work, although there was sort of certain elements that were similar and kind of tied it together in terms of what, you know, the political or whatever message within it. I felt there wasn't a sort of unique style that kind of went through it all. And that's where I kind of wanted to also go with this. So for me, I kind of had a broad, rough idea of the subject that I wanted to talk about, but I wasn't sure how I was going to talk about it visually. I just feel that when you talk to people, everybody has a pretty bleak outlook on the future. And so that's kind of what this whole kind of exhibition encompasses, is just these kind of faces that are just, you know, either sad, fed up, despair, you know, just all of that negative kind of stuff. And yeah, you know, and also with mental health, you know, that is on the rise at the moment. You know, it's almost like a pandemic in itself, is that, you know, with mental health. And again, that's kind of what I wanted to try and get across in this exhibition. None of these people exist. It's all just made up. And yeah, they're just kind of those faces that you just sort of pass in the road and almost kind of dismiss. But I almost feel like art has always been just there waiting for me to actually give it the respect that it deserves and the time and attention that it deserves. And you know, and weirdly, you know, the more attention that I started giving art, the more opportunities within art I actually started to get. Going from smaller canvases, you know, et cetera, to that scale scared the crap out of me, to be perfectly honest. I was incredibly nervous. There is I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a interview with David Bowie. And in that interview, it's something that always has resonated with me. And he said that your best work is if you imagine yourself walking out from the sand into the sea, and you get to that point where you just can't touch the ground, and you're starting to feel a little bit out of your depth and a little bit nervous. He said, that's where you need to be all the time. The idea of having it in a gallery space for the general public to be able to view, obviously, is an amazing experience. I think for most artists, it's what, you know, they would want, you know, that's where they envisage having their work, in some great grand space, etc., etc. But then, you know, conversely, walking into someone's home where they have spent their hard-earned money and gone, I need that painting, it speaks to me, kind of thing, you know what I mean, is also a huge honor. This is all quite personal. You know, you're putting your heart and soul on a canvas. And somebody put a comment on Facebook just before the exhibition opened to sort of, you know, to wish me good luck. And you know, the next sentence was, bearing your soul to the world. And it's, you know, it's true, and I know it sounds cliched or cheesy or whatever, but that's genuinely how I do feel, that you're putting this very personal stuff that you've spent an awful lot of time preparing and creating, for you to then kind of have the world look at it. So this whole thing, although I use the broad term of sort of mental health as one aspect of the exhibition, the other aspect of it was my journey as an artist, and sort of trying to sort of almost like the evolution of me over the last year and a bit. As an artist, I think we're always trying to strive for perfection, and I don't mean perfection in terms of beauty, but just as in what's going on up here, and trying to visualize that on a canvas or whatever it is that you're painting on. But I feel that with every painting, certainly for me, I feel like you're almost there with them. You never ever reach perfection, but there's always elements of things that you're happy with and that you're pleased about. And so it's taking those kind of bits and pieces and sort of moving them into your next piece, and and sort of seeing what happens, really. One interesting thing though, since sort of speaking to people who've come to the exhibition, is that with the incorporation of colour, they feel that there's almost then been an additional an addition of hope within the paintings, which again, I never kind of consciously thought I need to put colour in here to kind of add a bit of hope. But again, that's what I really, really like about speaking to people at the exhibition and getting their feedback, and because that had never occurred to me, that the colour gave the feeling of more hope, which I kind of like, because I think that we do need to have hope. Even over this period of time, in the big scheme of things, a year and a bit isn't a huge amount of time. But even in that period of time, walking through this exhibition, I feel that you can see me develop as an artist. I think that things are getting cleaner and tighter and better and more skillful, and there's this and just all round, I feel that you can see how I've developed. And part of the exhibition was always to be that. All of these now, and going into the next room, are kind of where I feel I'm at with me as an artist and in terms of my style. So we've got all of this very tight kind of masked up kind of shapes, blocked out, masked up, etc. But then mixing it and blending it in with kind of more realism type pieces. Some more sort of frantic kind of brush marks in there again, and it's just having all of that, and just pushing and pulling really all the way through the painting until you kind of hopefully end up at a sort of a balance where everything kind of feels right. I don't feel like a painting ever goes smoothly, and I kind of quite like that. I kind of quite like, as frustrating as it is at the time, I do quite like the battle, because I think out of that comes something way more interesting than if it had just gone smoothly. In terms of the different sort of ethnicities of people within the show, I had made a conscious decision that I wanted to kind of do different people. I think that we, no matter where you're from, what language you speak, etc., we all deal with situations. We all go through life struggling. Obviously, we have good times, but there's also always, the bad times. We lose family members, we have money worries. All of those are still happen through everybody's lives. And so that's why I wanted to kind of to try and incorporate different people. And in fact, as we go through into the next room, I almost feel that the people kind of sort of become more and more ambiguous, to the point of like, are they male? Are they female? Because it doesn't matter. When I was painting and I started to incorporate colour, I simply thought to myself, I actually really like the fact that these have now got a bit of color in them. There was something about them. I like the fact that the colors popped. But that was kind of as far as that thought process went. It didn't go into the idea of you know, that now I'm incorporating color, that, you know, I want to instill hope. Like I'd be genuinely lying if I said that that's why I did it. I never initially saw hope in them, but I kind of quite like the fact that people have come in here and have seen hope. Predominantly, it's this room that is the winner, which I'm quite relieved at, on the basis that this is where I want to go with my work, you know, in the future. Yeah, it's really interesting kind of, and it's also, everyone's got a different favorite, but also for very different sort of reasons. You know, this reminds me of this, or I like the sadness in that. I like the colors in this one. You know, I like the way that this eye is done in this one, or I like the closed eyes, you know, and everything sort of, it just sort of proves that we're all different, you know, and that we all have different tastes and different things kind of appeal to us or speak to us. In order to sort of become a commercial artist, you do need to have some sort of thing, you know, that's my thing. Or, you know, when someone walks past an art gallery, you know, they instantly recognize that that's a piece of my work. And I guess that's the bit that I've been kind of battling with, is finding something that kind of excites me enough to go, yeah, I want to do that and go with that like 100%. And again, that's what this whole sort of experience or this journey over the last year or so has been all about. I would highly recommend people come to visit the exhibition. I think that it's quite interesting going around any exhibition where the original works of art are on show, because you can kind of get up close and personal with them and see every brush stroke and sort of see all the work that's gone into it. I think that you kind of, there's more of an appreciation of the amount of work that maybe I've put into it or that's gone into the show. You get to see the development, walking through it chronologically. And, you know, many people have kind of commented on the fact that they can really see how the work's developed over the year or so. Also, you know, the icing on the cake is that I'll be here. You know, I'll be painting every day here, or at least trying to paint, because, you know, I'd actually rather be talking to people at the moment and, you know, introducing myself. But it means that I can kind of show them around, and you know, if they have any questions, I can answer them, hopefully. But yeah, I think it's important for people to actually meet the person behind the artwork, and it gives you a sort of better understanding of what the exhibition's about. And, you know, and not only that, but from my personal point of view, interacting with people that have come to the exhibition is finding out what this all means to them. I think it's hugely important to have contemporary exhibitions going on in this space, even more so in somewhere like Peterborough, that doesn't sort of have as many of these kind of exhibitions as, say, I don't know, London, for example. And also to have this kind of space is incredible. I mean, the amount of people that have come in here that I kind of got the impression have never stepped foot in here before were kind of quite blown away by the fact that this space exists. You know, when I first kind of walked into the space, this feels like a London gallery type space. You know, it has that feeling to it. I just felt that, you know, sort of when you go to a lot of exhibitions, it's very kind of, let's just sort of say uninviting, maybe intimidating, very quiet, very hush, very elitist, I think is probably a good word for it. And I kind of wanted to be here, not to scare people off, hopefully, but to actually sort of be able to answer any questions they've got. And at the same time, sort of see how these things are created. We have a television screen here where there's kind of some time-lapse footage of me creating pieces, which just gives you sort of an idea. But I don't think there's anything better than being able to come and actually see it done in real life. For this one, sometimes I've used spray paints in my paintings, kind of pretty much for backgrounds and things like that. But because obviously I'm in this space, I don't really want to kind of gas everybody out with aerosol spray cans. So I'm just going to stick with good old acrylic paints. And then for a lot of the detail that I use, particularly for things like eyes, I use these Posca pens, which come in a variety of sizes and colors and shades, etc., etc. But from sort of real sort of thick ones, all the way down to kind of super fine points. It's just it's acrylic paint. It's kind of this stuff, but just in pen format. So rather than having to worry about using really, really small brushes and all of that kind of stuff, I can just use these pens. They come in sort of quite interesting sort of shades. Paintings runs until June the 15th, 2024 at Peterborough Museum Art Gallery. It's completely free and features over 90 original works of art.